Hey, what's up, guys? It's Age from the Comeback Sports Podcast, and this is Season 4, Episode 3, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the NFL football, some college football, and kind of a little bit of breakdown of what I've been going on lately, so stick around. Normally I do the quote of the week, but, I don't really think I need to do anymore because, to be honest, I was kind of running out of quotes to use, and I didn't want to use old cliche quotes just because, you see them all the time. That's why they're called cliches. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's been a while. I think almost 6 months since the last episode I did with my brother-in-law Ethan. And as you can tell, this studio is in a different place. I'm at my sister's house. I'm in her basement, and I really like that the lighting is so good here. I don't have to use my selfie, my ring light anymore. I can just kind of use the normal lighting fixtures. And also, it's very good acoustics in here. So, it's a good change of pace, I think. To kind of transition the show, we can talk a little bit about the Packers because being a Packers fan, I can't not mention them. And I want to talk about the receiving core that they have at the moment. It's been a bit of a change since Davante Adams accepted a contract with the Las Vegas Raiders. So it's kind of up in the air of who is that wide receiver one. If you ask me, I want to say it's going to be Allen Lazard just because Aaron Rodgers has praised him so much and he has made some great catches and he has that physicality and that length to really be that wide receiver one. It's just a matter if he can stay healthy. But there's still other people in the lineup, a lot of young people. So you got veteran Randall Cobb there, and then the newer guys, starting with the oldest one in the group, would be Sammy Watkins, who they acquired from the Chiefs, or I guess Ravens. He used to play for the Chiefs. And then you got some new recruits from the draft. You got Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and then some other veterans we mentioned is a tight end, Bobby Tonyan, and Amari Rodgers. My thoughts on this, I really don't know, to be honest. Sure, I've watched the preseason games, and I've seen some flashes, and I've seen some not so good appearances as well. And I feel like I need to see week one to really know what the pulse is on this team. Just because Jordan Love, who's the backup quarterback, he's not going to be starting week one or probably any week for this 2022 season. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. So I guess to me, I need to see what the chemistry like is when he's on the field, when he's kind of leading the charge. But then again, the preseason is there for a reason. You got to get the reps in, and it's kind of like warm up for the real thing. And I've seen some flashes. I don't think Christian Watson has played a snap yet. He had some injury issues. But a lot of praise I've been seeing so far is from Romeo Doubs, who's been like a sleeper pick in the draft. Aaron Rodgers has said on occasion great things about him, saying that he does those wow moments at least once every day at practice. And I can't recall a time where he's praised a young receiver to that degree. I mean, he has praised Allen Lazard, but not as much as this in terms of the first year working with him. Breaking news, Aaron Rodgers meets with Romeo Doubs for lunch. So who knows what that means? And I've seen him do some good catches in the preseason. Some examples of how he can kind of maneuver his body or twist a certain way to kind of make a not so good pass into something more catchable. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye on for him. But someone I really want to pay attention to is Christian Watson, who was the second round pick within the draft. And me and Sam, who was on the show twice, who's a big Packers fan, we are both pretty excited for this pick just because he kind of reminds me of another Allen Lazard in terms of the size and length within his body. And I like to see large receivers because Aaron Rodgers can make those difficult throws. And if you got the length, the difficult throws probably won't seem as difficult for them, at least I hope. My only concern is the lack of challenge he's probably had because he played for, I believe, North Dakota State. And as some people know, that school doesn't play the most elite colleges. So that's one I want to keep my eye on. And then Sammy Watkins is an interesting pickup. I mean, it's not like a blockbuster deal that we've seen this postseason. But he really interests me because he's a good blocking receiver. So with that kind of in the picture, I feel like we're going to see more of Allen Lazard because he was kind of like that block type receiver because of his size. So if Sammy can take over that role, then Alan Lazard can kind of do his thing and be more available for those big momentum-changing catches. Since we're kind of still talking about the expectations for the Packers, I kind of want to transition to another team, and that's the Buffalo Bills. It's like, hey, you never talk about the Buffalo Bills. Why all of a sudden you want to talk about them? One, because there's a lot of hype within the NFL media for them. And I also visited Buffalo, New York this summer. So I went to Buffalo, and very cool city. It's not like the largest city, but it's very pretty, and people are nice. And I actually went to the place where the Buffalo wings were originated. What do I give it on a scale of 1 to 10? To be honest, 6.5 to 7. I mean, just because it's the first doesn't mean it's the best. That's just my take on that. And I talked to people at like bars and restaurants and kind of what their thoughts were with the Buffalo Bills. And this one guy, I remember he just had all the excitement. I've never seen so much excitement from a Bills fan. And just hearing him talk about the Bills and like, this is the year, like we are going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And that's what some people are even saying outside of Buffalo. Like, this team is something that I like. You got Stephon Diggs. You got a grown Josh Allen, who I have said when he got drafted that he has the arm talent. He just needs to be polished up. And he's polished now. And I think we're going to see probably another big jump from him just because he has a lot of pieces that are surrounding him. And he has continued to improve year over year. And he actually has some playoff experience, and he played very well in that playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think Josh Allen's ready to kind of take on the spotlight and go from like a star to like a superstar in the NFL now. I also kind of want to do something a little different. I kind of want to show a reaction video to a small clip from a preseason game. And the person I want to highlight is Devin Allen from the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why Devin Allen is kind of on my radar is because he is a hurdler for Oregon and even competed in the World Championships where he got DQ'd because he's just that good at coming off the blocks that the machine thought he false started, which is bullshit, but that's kind of over now. I want to highlight his football experiences now. So I'm going to do a reaction video to his 50-yard TD catch that he had. So I'm going to play this right now, and it should be on the screen now, hopefully. So you got Senna in the shotgun, and then he lobs it from the 40-yard line, and then Devin Allen has at least like 5 yards away from all the secondaries, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, the part that impresses me is just kind of more like the overall top speed. Like the acceleration is there, but the top speed, once he gets that separation, it almost gets a little bit more wider. And I'll keep replaying this a couple more times. And like, sure, it's a preseason game. It's not like those guys aren't probably going to make the roster by the end of this preseason, but just kind of watching him highlight his excellent speed from track is just kind of refreshing. Because I remember track runners kind of get a bad rep saying, oh, they wouldn't do good in a real sport like football. So it's kind of cool to showcase that on the field. And yeah, I mean, he seems like a pretty likable guy too. So I hope he continues to play, and we'll see some more highlights like this in the regular season. And even RG3 will recognize him too on Twitter. And RG3 is also a hurdler in college. He was a hurdler at the University of Baylor. So it makes sense that he wants to shout out this man as well. Yeah, so that's Devin Allen for you. So keep an eye out for him. So this is a segment that I'm very excited for. It's breaking down the AP poll for college football. Jesus Christ, man, I'm getting tired already. As you can tell, it's nighttime right now. It's like 9 p.m. Central Time. I had a pretty long day. Work was long, but then I went on a run, and I felt a little bit better, but I'm still kind of exhausted. So let's kind of go through the AP poll breakdown. I'll start at the very bottom, which was number 25, and then kind of just briefly go through some teams and maybe stop for a couple teams that I follow a little bit more closely to kind of give my thoughts of what I like or dislike and what maybe their kind of end of the season is going to look like as well. So number 25, you got BYU. They're not in a conference. They're an independent, and I'm not going to knock them down just because I have seen some pretty consistent results from them year over year. That's where Zach Milson came from, and he had a pretty good year at BYU, so I'm sure they know how to groom players. Followed by Houston, and then Cincinnati. I'm kind of curious what Cincinnati's going to be like because they had a breakout year with Desmond Riddler as their quarterback, and they even made to the national the playoffs for college football. And this is kind of really going to determine, all right, Cincinnati really going to be the big guys that can step up to the challenge year after year because they're probably going to go to the Big 12 pretty soon. If I were to predict what their season is going to look like, I don't think it's going to be the same as last year. I don't think they're going to make it to the championship or the playoffs just because there's just a lot of stacked teams that are on this list. So you got Wake Forest on here. You got Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's the head coach there. I like him. And then Kentucky, which was kind of a little surprise for me. I didn't expect to see them on there. Looks like they finished last year at 18th, and so they're back on the poll again at 20th. Arkansas, one of my favorite teams. Number 18 is University of Wisconsin. So I was thinking about this. What I like with Wisconsin is the production is always consistent if you set the right expectations, of course. Wisconsin has one of the most elite defensive programs I've ever seen. Each year, it's always the same, and they know how to grow these low 3-star recruits and turn them into big defensive players. Just ask the Watt brothers and Leo Chanel. Those are great examples of just how well they groom their defensive players. And then on the offensive side, running backs after running backs after running backs, they know how to get those guys prepared. And Braylon Allen is going to be that next guy that's going to be the running back star in the Big Ten. Unfortunately, the passing game, it's non-existent. I was a huge advocate for Graham Mertz, but Graham Mertz is what every Wisconsin quarterback is besides Russell Wilson, just mediocre. So I don't expect much from the passing side. I just hope they can use their defense to stop good teams in the Big Ten, and then their run game can just do what it does best and just score and get them hopefully to the Big Ten championship game, which I predict will probably be against Ohio State. Pittsburgh, that's where Kenny Pickett went. I don't know who's the starting quarterback this year. So I was surprised to see them still on the AP poll. Miami, Florida, that was an interesting one. I think what influenced this was the acquisition of Mario Cristobal from Oregon. Great coach, has a lot of experience with other great coaches. And I think he's really excited to be back in Miami, and he wants to lead them to an ACC championship game. Followed by Michigan State, USC. USC is interesting as well because, like Miami, they got a big-time coach. They got Lincoln Riley, and followed him was Caleb Williams from Oklahoma. And I'm sure they got a couple other acquisitions from that as well in terms of the recruiting class and transfer portal. So I think all those moves will influence this ranking for the number 14 spot. And to be honest, the Pac-12 is not that competitive compared to the other conferences, especially, I guess maybe not especially, but it's. I feel like the level of competition is slightly lower than the Big 12 where he came from, Lincoln Riley. So we'll see how he does in this new conference. He may have to make adjustments because the West Coast offense is definitely different than the Big 12 spread offense that they do out there. Oklahoma State is on here. Then Oregon. Oregon's probably my favorite team in the Pac-12. I don't know too much about their head coach, and it sounds like the AP poll really likes what's going on over there. So I'll have to keep an eye on Oregon because I've been following Oregon a little bit more closely when my brother-in-law introduced me to Justin Herbert when he was a sophomore. And yeah, I liked what I saw at Oregon. And it's just fun to watch because I need to pay attention to all conferences, and Pac-12 is something that is a little hard for me to watch because the games are so late at night. I'm surprised Baylor was this low, considering how great they finished off the season. But I got a feeling they're going to creep their way up even higher, if not stay the same in the top 10. Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley's old school. So Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma, and the Big 12 is not as competitive. Besides Baylor and Oklahoma State, those are kind of the only true competitors in that. I want to say Iowa State, but I don't like to get my hopes up for my old school, just because when you give them expectations, they sometimes don't meet that. But hopefully they can get a win on Oklahoma, just because Oklahoma always beats up on everyone else. But I don't really agree with this ranking. I think they should be outside the top 10. But like I said, it's their schedule. It's kind of going to determine their ranking, because I think they're going to have a little bit of an easy path for the most part. A couple of hiccups there, but number 9, pretty standard for Oklahoma. Do I think they're going to make it to the Big 12 championship game? Yeah, I think they might. Michigan at number 8. This is a surprise. They lost a few key players in the draft, particularly their All-American defensive end. God, I can't remember his name. If I do, I'll say it. But I think this is too high of a rank, even though this is 5 spots down. I don't see them making it to the Big Ten championship game, considering how consistent Ohio State's roster looks compared to Michigan. But I think they're going to have a couple big wins on their belt, and it'll be at least a close one, I would say, within the Big Ten East. Utah, I like Utah. I saw their match against Ohio State, and it was just great. Like Pac-12. I mean, I forgot about Utah when I was talking smack about Pac-12, but now that they're back in my mind, Lincoln Riley is going to have some problems handling Utah. So I'm really excited to see that matchup when that time comes. But Utah's looking really good, and there's nothing really noticeable that kind of changed year over year. And we might see another Rose Bowl, which would be great. Texas A&M, they got a lot of spotlight this offseason because they, for the first time in a while, it wasn't Alabama, Georgia, or Clemson that got the number 1 recruiting year, and Texas A&M took that over. And so for the next couple of years, we're probably going to see them in the spotlight within the top 10 or top 5 year over year. And Jimbo Fisher, he has a very long history and lineage of coaches and other quarterbacks. So I think he's going to groom this team just fine. Notre Dame. Notre Dame is interesting. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU. And, yeah, I think this is a little too high. But because it's Notre Dame and their schedule is a little easier than some, except the first matchup. Ohio State, that's going to be a tough one. But after that, it's going to be a little bit more smoother for their schedule. I have a feeling they're probably going to finish outside the top 10. But Notre Dame produces pretty consistent players, especially at the O-line position. And so I'll be keeping an eye out for them. Of course, these are the ones you always see every year. Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. Clemson had an off year to their standards at least, even though they did beat up on Iowa State in their bowl game. It was the Cheez-It game, yes. But it sounds like they're back in action. Got a good recruiting class. There's going to be some speculation who the starting quarterback's going to be. It's either going to be DJ Uiagalelei or whoever is next. I think he's also a 5 or 4-star recruit. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a QB battle. I mean, I'm not impressed with DJ, so we'll see what happens with that. But Dabo Swinney, business as usual with him. He's going to get an ACC championship again because he missed it last year, and he probably wants it this year for sure. And then Georgia, the national champion. Stetson Bennett is back. I am very surprised to see that. So Stetson Bennett was the quarterback for Georgia last year, and he led them to a national title. I guess led them is kind of a soft word because that team was just stacked on defense. It was one of the best defenses of 2021. But it does seem assuring that Stetson Bennett is going to return, considering he's been there for so many years. He understands kind of the style that Kirby Smart runs. And so I think there won't be much adjustment for him on that front. Then Ohio State and Alabama. Ohio State, yeah, they're probably going to win the Big Ten again. I used to hate on Ryan Day. Not hate him, but just I had my doubts for him because I always said, like, oh, Urban Meyer just pretty much gave Ryan Day the keys to a Ferrari that's already tuned up. So all you do is just drive it, not crash it. It's been a couple years, and Ryan Day has still produced good numbers and has taken them to Big Ten championship games back-to-back all since he started. And at no point now, I don't see any players that Urban Meyer has recruited that Ryan Day is under. So I think it's going to be another Big Ten title for the Ohio State. And, of course, Alabama. Yep. SEC title, probably against Georgia. And another championship, or at least the playoffs. So yeah, just kind of break down my Power 5 conference predictions in terms of what the championship games are going to be like. So at ACC, I have a prediction is going to be Dabo Swinney from Clemson will be battling against Mario Cristobal at Miami. I think that'd be a great matchup. Pac-12 is going to be Utah versus Oregon. And then Big 12 is going to be Baylor versus Oklahoma. And the Big 10, always my favorite matchup. I just hate the end result of every time this happens. It's Ohio State versus Wisconsin. And then finally, the SEC, Alabama versus Georgia. And since we're talking about the Power 5 conferences still, as some of you may know, the Big Ten has expanded, and they'll be introducing UCLA and USC. And some people are against it. Some people just don't flat out care. I don't mind it. I think it's great in terms of the Big Ten because I'm a fan. It'd be nice to see that West Coast offense go against a defensive-heavy conference like the Big Ten. I mean, UCLA is not really a big powerhouse name. USC is. And a lot of this expansion, I believe, is due to just money. The Pac-12 networks probably don't compensate these teams that much, and big schools like these want to have more money opportunities along with the players. And this also probably improves their recruiting within the Big Ten as a whole. Now parents in the West Coast can watch their kids in the Midwest, and parents in the Midwest can watch their kids in the West Coast. You're just kind of taking over the whole country. So when this happens, am I going to be kind of putting my nose a lot into this? Probably will. But I think the whole hype will eventually die down, though. So now we're transitioning to the last segment of my episode. Thank you again for everyone that's watched the Welcome Back episode. And we kind of have to address the elephant in the room. Yeah, I went on a hiatus for about 6 months. And to be honest, beginning of the year wasn't the best time for me. Made some stupid decisions, and it led to things that just kind of escalated and wasn't great. I didn't like who I was, and I felt like that for a long time, even before this year. So for the past 6 months, I just kind of worked on myself, and I signed up for therapy. I have therapy sessions every couple weeks. I did some reading, even did some meditation. And through this process, I've strengthened relationships with people, traveled a lot, did things I enjoyed, and balanced my life a little bit better, and more importantly, became more comfortable with myself. Some key lessons that I've learned during this time is you got to be gentle with yourself. You got to let go of unrealistic expectations, not only towards yourself, but others. You have to understand that there are some things that are out of your control, and some of those things aren't just worth stressing out about. You got to live in the moment a little bit. Things are going to come out of nowhere, and there's nothing you can do about it, and that's okay. And be honest with yourself. Have the tough conversations with people, especially if you really care about them. And don't be afraid to be yourself, because you're only doing yourself and others a disservice when you don't do any of these things. So these are lessons that have helped me grow, that I've learned through my experience. And as a result, I had one of the best summers I've had in a long time. And I've learned from mistakes and learned more about myself. And I want to continue to do that. I want to carry on and just be a better person towards myself and towards others. So this summer, I've connected with so many people, old friends, current friends, and met a lot of new people too. And I'm very grateful for all that. So I want to thank all these people that I've enjoyed my summer with and helped me through this experience that I was going through this year. So I made this short little video to kind of show my appreciation towards them. So once again, thank you to everybody that's helped me get back to being who I really want to be and getting back on the show. So hope you enjoy.
to the sound to silence the cars. We're cutting like knives in a fist fight. And I found you with a bottle of wine, your head in the curtains and heart like the 4th of July. You swore and said we are not shining stars. This I know, I never said we are. Though I've never been through hell like that, I've closed enough windows to know you can never look back. If you're lost and alone, or you're sinking like a stone, carry on. May your past be the sound of your feet upon the ground. Carry on. Carry on, carry on. So I met up with some friends at the edge of the night at a bar off 75. And we talked and talked about how our parents will die, all our neighbors and wives. But I'd like to think I can cheat it all to make up for the times I've been cheated on. And it's nice to know when I was left for dead, I was found and out on these streets. I am not the ghost you wanted me. If you're lost and alone, know you're sinking like a stone. Carry on. May your past be the sound of your feet